Welcome to task 2 of the experiment. So task 2 is basically just making sure that the machine that you have built is reliable enough that it can have fair tests run on it to measure the speed of the marble coming out. So what do I mean by that? Well, you might have put it together, but when you start to try and run the marble down the machine, it's not going to run the same way every time. In fact, first time through it usually runs pretty poorly because some people haven't tightened up their ramps enough, or they're at the wrong angle. Sometimes you've put the ramps on such an angle that, like, you've got better color here, you've got the board like this, and instead of the ramps being flat, they've put the ramp at like an angle like that, which means the marble keeps running into the ramp as it's trying to get down the chute. So the marble keeps losing energy all the time by knocking into the walls all the time. You need to actually set it up so it's nice and straight and tight and flat, so that the marble has a really decent chance of running down those ramps and getting out the end without hitting the wall too many times. Every time it hits a wall like that, it's going to lose some energy. So this is your chance to observe what's happening and tighten up not only the machine but also your method to make sure that you're doing it the same way every time, so that you can test your machine fairly. And that's the key issue here. Can you test your machine fairly? In other words, can you run that marble down the machine over and over and get roughly the same result every time? If not, something is not controlled. You can't run fair tests on it, therefore you can't actually go any further in the experiment until you fix this up. Really important. If you can't demonstrate to your teacher that you have a fair testable machine there, we'll make you stop and go back, because all of your data will be ruined if you don't fix it up at this step. So how do we do that? First of all, observe what's happening while you're sending the marble down the machine. Fix up anything that's changing that you have to. If it's something that you can remove, because this is all about the control variables we learnt. When you've got things that are uncontrolled and they're affecting your test, there's two things you can do. You can either remove them, or you can keep everything the same. So remove. If you're testing your machine in an area where it's really windy and sometimes it's getting buffeted by the wind, you don't have to worry about keeping the wind the same. Heck, you just remove that variable. You take yourself to a room or a place where there is no wind to affect you at all anyway, and that way that variable won't affect your tests. But you can't always remove everything. So if it comes to like the ramp, and on that ramp, some of them are a bit wobbly and they're changing a bit and they're moving around, so that one test they might be angled one way and another test they might be angled the other way. Well, that's changing. That's not very good for fair testing. So in that case, you have to tighten them up so that they stay the same for every test. So make sure that you tighten them up or attach them properly, so that no matter what happens, every time you test that marble, the machine itself hasn't really changed that much. Only what you want to change changes. And every time you do this, I want you to record it down. You are actually being marked on this. You're being marked on identifying the variables that need to be controlled. So make sure you record this in your section here. And it's no good just whinging and saying, oh yeah, this is a problem, this is a problem. You must propose a solution. And you might propose a couple of solutions. If one solution didn't work, still keep it here. Oh, you've written it down, you tried it, didn't work, okay. Propose another solution, write it down, yes, that worked, great. All of this written record here of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to fix up, and the solutions that you propose and how they worked, all of that works towards your evaluation marks and your questioning and predicting marks. They're really important. The more evidence you give us to show how well you're thinking scientifically, the better you are. So please make sure that you do some test trials with your machine. Record in this table how you went and the solutions that you put forward. Some of them may not have worked. I don't mind. Record it. Put through everything that you did, everything you changed and why. And then once your teacher has checked it off, then you'll be allowed to go ahead and actually do the proper tests on machine 1.